Hello and welcome back to A&J
Yes.
Entertainment. We got a NBA free agency off-season edition for you guys, and we think you're gonna like it. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I'll say it's last time we talked about the NBA, obviously it was post Nuggets winning. We had some draft talk as well, and free agency hadn't opened up yet. We had some trades go down, some big news, but free agency hadn't quite started. And we projected a lot of big things. We gave some bold takes, some things that might
Big
have
predictions.
some big predictions that went right, some big predictions that went immediately wrong. But I think just in general, the big theme of free agency, we've seen a lot of, I think over the last few years, just a lot of movement in the league, a lot of big players switching teams, making
Oh
that,
yeah.
those big decisions to, go across conferences or, to break up the franchises they've been at for a while. What we saw this offseason, though, and I think with a lot of the biggest names in free agency at least, was those guys staying around. Oh, that was the wrong people at first, but yes, these guys they all stayed around. Kyrie,
Draymond.
Draymond, the core of the Bucks sticking together. A lot of significant guys on playoff teams ended up
Big role
just
players.
yeah, so they just ended up sticking around. You're talking to role players.
Westbrook,
Yep. And
another
then
one.
for the Lakers as well, staying in the Staples Center, or I guess the Crypto Center, Austin Reeves and Hachimura, huge,
Big.
huge, like huge for the Lakers to be able to
They
bring
both
both of them
started
back.
last year in the
Exactly.
playoffs. Meaningful minutes.
Austin Reeves was pretty much the third best player on that team.
Oh yeah.
And both of those guys are young players. Obviously they have LeBron, and it's kind of like corny to say, but that's going to be the next generation of the Lakers. Is going to be Hachimura and Austin
Ruin,
Reeves. Like they're going to be kids who grow up with them as their Lakers. So this is
Ruin
it's
Reeves.
big signings for them, and I think
Yeah,
just generally positive ones for them. So I don't know, just
definitely.
overview. How do you feel about some of these big moves? Are there any other ones, maybe under the radar guys who ended up staying with their team that you want to talk about?
I mean, the biggest for me, in my opinion, was the Bucks core staying, Middleton and Lopez. Because if either of them left, I could see the Bucks relatively falling apart.
For sure.
That was big, and I thought Russell Westbrook was a huge one. I mean, he was their whole team in the playoffs, arguably, and having him back with ideally a healthy Kawhi and PG, that's a good. That's one of the best 1, 2, 3 in the league.
We're
So
talking historically. We saw it earlier today. Russell Westbrook actually took the largest pay cut in NBA history for his
it's pretty
current
wild.
contract. So I'm glad for Russ though that he's settled in. I feel like because of this most recent like this last contract that he's been on, it's really like people haven't appreciated him for what he is. Like he's been the same thing everywhere. If Russ was making, an average salary, like what he's making now, I don't think people would be as concerned. It's just
No,
the fact that he's been making the money that he's been making, and people have expected so much of him. But he's not a starting point guard anymore. Like he's
no,
older, he's on the tail end of his career, but he's a great six man, bench point guard or point guard for a team that, he does not have to be primarily responsible for things. I think the
definitely.
Clippers is such a great place for him, and like you were saying, if they can stay healthy, that's I'm really happy about just Westbrook staying there and what that team could end up doing.
It's a great fit all around. I mean, it should end up working out, hopefully, for them. Um,
Yeah, and then I guess Draymond as well. That was another big one. He staying with Golden State. I feel like there was a lot of, obviously Poole got traded, Jordan Poole. There was some animosity there stemming from the start of last season, but
Definitely some beef.
for Draymond to stay and get 4 years, $100 million, he's going to be in Golden State until I think he's 36, 37 years old. So
Probably his whole career.
yeah, I would say like this is finishing his career in Golden State, but doing so at a pretty high salary. I feel like this was an
Oh yeah,
interesting pivot point for Golden State. They could have decided to double down on their roster, which they did, or try to pivot a little bit, maybe trade Draymond, maybe even consider trading Clay too, and just focus on the young players a
yeah.
little bit more. They're sticking with Draymond, which is fine, but I feel like Kuminga is really, my biggest hesitation with keeping Draymond is you got to keep. I feel like Kuminga has to start this season or has to have a significant role.
Oh yeah.
how can you have? I mean, that starting lineup with Draymond. I mean, I get you have to start Chris Paul, you have to start Klay Thompson, you have to start Steph, you have to
And then
start Draymond.
Looney,
So who's the five? Can you have?
Wiggins,
Yeah, and
Looney or
then Wiggins.
Wiggins.
I'm forgetting about Wiggins. So you have to
It's
start
Looney
like
or Wiggins there.
it's like you have to
Probably
drop.
Wiggins.
You can't not start Wiggins signed a max contract too.
No, I'm saying you start.
yeah, I would say,
Wiggins.
yeah, I
I'm
would say,
saying you
yeah,
go
yeah, yeah.
small.
Yeah, I would say like it's. I don't know who you drop from that lineup. You don't.
I
You
don't think
have
you
to
have a
start Chris
choice.
Paul. You have to start Steph. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe Draymond. Draymond. Someone would have paid Draymond
Off the
to
bench,
start.
Draymond.
Draymond could be starting someplace.
Yeah.
I don't think he's coming back to come off.
It's
got to
be Chris Paul off the bench then, I think.
But that would be crazy.
But then Chris Paul coming into for the death lineup. Like I think in the playoffs he'll be starting, and I think in not regular season, basically just playoffs he'll start. They'll make a death lineup of Chris Paul, Curry, Klay, either Wiggins or Looney, and then Draymond, one of the two.
Yeah,
I think they'll figure it out, but it's kind of a scary combination. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I know. Golden State. I mean, it's just an interesting.
Two very different point guards that can do so much with the ball, and it's just interesting to see how they'll mesh together, especially Curry and CP3 on the court.
I mean, I think one of my it's something. Maybe it's like just an issue with how I view the game, but like I always, when I'm looking at teams building up their like teams for the following season, I'm like, you have to be building to last year's champions. It's like realistically, like who are you? It's like you are building to beat the Nuggets.
Oh yeah.
Is that who do they have on that team can guard Jokic? Like I think that is you can't escape this. Do they have size to handle Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., and Aaron Gordon in that front court? Can you I don't really see that for them. So
Probably
it's
not.
I don't know. Obviously, you could say, all right, we're going to shoot around it. We're going to play make around it. We can play fast around it. But it's like it's a catch-22 there. I feel like that could go either way.
Definitely.
Yeah, obviously we were talking about a lot of players who ended up staying with their teams, but a few guys changed teams. So we're going to show you the photos that I accidentally put up earlier. But yeah, we got some big changes.
Some big ones.
And I guess some new additions to the league too. I'll let you start off with the changes though.
Yeah. Well, obviously my prediction, who I had Bruce Brown re-signing, unfortunately proved me wrong in the very first moments, and he signed with the Pacers there for $20 million. He got the bag, he did well. He deserved it. Obviously there's Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, both going to the Rockets. They got paid. Let's just say that. And did they deserve it? VanVleet? Yeah. Brooks?
No.
Maybe.
No.
Not
Zero.
that much, but
Zero.
Not that much.
Should be playing for the Guangdong Tigers right now. Should be in China.
That's very true. But obviously we had some other signings too. There's the Malik Beasley that's going to go under the radar, signing with the Bucks. Lonnie Walker with the Nets. That guy, Lonnie Walker, I'm kind of surprised he ended up leaving the Lakers too. Because he was carving out a role there.
Mm-hmm.
He had a good fit. But with the Nets now, could end up in the starting lineup almost.
Yeah.
Could see that. And then Max Strus. That was one of the biggest ones.
Cleveland.
Going to the Cavs. I think it was a sign-in trade, but I'm not 100% sure.
Sign and trade.
But he got the bag. I don't particularly love that trade. That guy, if you're building to the finals team of last year, Max Strus, first of all, Max Strus did not live up to the hype in the finals. I don't know how you'd compare him to anybody on that Denver Nuggets team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he fills the role that you really need to win a championship. And him starting over I guess he starts over an Isaac Okoro, somebody like that, or Harrison Burt, but
I think that's
is he better than them? I don't know.
I don't know if he's better than either one of them. I think not individually. Okoro's a better defender, and LeVert is probably a better pure scorer. But I feel like Strus is the combination of both. Strus is he's probably a better shooter than both of them, and I would argue he probably falls in between defensively. I think in that sign-and trade, though, they traded away Cedi Osman. Cedi Osman ended up going to the Spurs, I believe, in that. So, obviously Osman wasn't making the same money that Strus is now. Strus is averaging about $15 million a year on his new deal. But, if you think about it in that sense, you know, they obviously had to give up
They
some draft
upgraded.
capital as well, but upgrading on Chetty Osman, you know, giving up, you know, an extra like 6-7 mil a year to do it for someone who you're confident is a better 3-point shooter who's done it, you know, more consistently. You know, again, I agree with you. Not probably the value isn't crazy there, but this wasn't a great free agent class anyway. So, you know, an all right signing. You know, an all right signing.
It ended up being okay. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, considering the class, you almost say decent, but like in any other year, he would have gone for like 5 million.
Well,
10
if you
million.
think compare him to Dante DiVincenzo, I gotta bring in my new Nick.
Your boy?
Dante DiVincenzo, 4 years, 50 million. I feel like is a pretty fair contract for him, and I would probably expect Strus to, you know, granted Strus was on that Miami team that made it to the finals, so that definitely ups his value a little bit. But I feel like
Definitely.
Strus should have fallen between that like Austin Reeves 4 years 50-ish million and that Dante Divan. Like he's in that 4-year 50 range really. That's what he should be making.
Yeah, and he definitely deserves that.
Yeah.
I feel like.
But DiVincenzo, another guy who I'm super happy about, 3-and-D guy. I don't know. It's, you know, we have Quentin Grimes already there. You know, I think there's value for him, but I think it's going to end up pushing someone out. So, well, I'm curious to see how the rotation ends up working out with DiVincenzo, but happy just in general about that signing. I like him.
It's definitely good. I would say probably my last, another under the radar signing that he honestly won't have much of an impact on the floor, but it's Derrick Rose to the Grizzlies. I think that could really end up helping Ja. They're very, I mean, at this stage in Ja's career, he's very similar to how Derrick Rose played back earlier in his career. And I think having somebody there more as just a mentor to help John more aspects than just on the court, obviously. But, you know, that would just be a great fit overall. Having a leader in the locker room, it'll really boost that team overall. And I think they could end up being one of the best in the West if Ja comes back playing at his best.
I would say just if you're ever, you know, feeling a little bored, check out Ja Morant's Twitter. I did that yesterday. He's tweeting like nothing has happened. Like he never did any of this, and like he wasn't suspended, and like, you know, life is as normal. It's a really his social media is it's an interesting thing. But final signings that I wanted to touch on, not current NBA players, I guess, but a few EuroLeague guys. I'm gonna butcher these names, but Sasha Vezenkov, and who's this other
EuroLeague MVP.
One? Yes, EuroLeague MVP, a Bulgarian, 6'9" sharpshooter. Supposedly, his stats. I don't remember his stats exactly, but it was something crazy. Like he shot really well in EuroLeague, and then Vasily. That guy signed with the Kings for 3 years, like 20-something mil, I think. Or what was it, more than that?
I think 3 for 20. That's what I saw.
3 for 20. And then Vasily Micic. I don't know, probably said that wrong too. Serbian.
Thunder?
29 years old, guard with the Thunder now. He was also, you know, one of the top point guards, supposedly, in the EuroLeague. So headed into this next season, the Thunder are going to have SGA, Josh Giddey, and then this guy behind him.
And Trey Mann.
With Trey Mann as well, who, you know, is already putting, you know, Summer League highlight animal. We'll get into that briefly. But, you know, I think it's interesting to see those EuroLeague guys starting to get bigger, you know, more significant contracts immediately coming into the NBA. I feel like you see it every once in a while. We've had a few guys kind of migrate over recently, but no one who's not, you know, 2 guys who've gotten contracts like this. I feel like this is kind of a unique thing.
It's big.
Yeah, and it's cool to see. So, I mean, we were talking about it earlier. Hope that we can see more of this, you know, just international influence on the league, not only coming from the draft, but through free agency as well. I feel like that would add just a super cool element to free agency. Just, I feel like baseball has that a lot. I mean, it's a different system, but it's like they have guys who come over from Japan or like guys from Central America and stuff who teams will be bidding for. You know, I don't think the NBA is going to do like a bidding process and like the signing bonus and stuff, but you know, having big players come over and sign in the NBA, I feel like would be huge.
It's a great look.
So, yeah, would love to see that happen more consistently, and we'll see how these
It
guys
only
play.
boosts the talent, so
Yes,
it helps. Exactly.
NBA's all about the best, so we'll take it.
Oh yeah. Should we get into some extensions now? Some people from the, I think it's 2019 class or 2020 class. I can't remember the exact class, but Desmond Bain, LaMelo.
Still. I believe this was 2019. And yeah, like you were saying, a few maxes going. I think Desmond Bain was really the most surprising. You know, kind of.
It was
max.
2020.
Yeah. Okay. 2020. Yeah, I would say Desmond Bain probably the most surprising max contract that went out. I feel like, you know, obviously played very well last year. Great shooter, great defender. You know, that
Past
3-and-D mold.
I would say. He's been
3-and-D
great.
mold, he's fit it straight out of TCU. Like, he's done that. But I don't know how, you know, is he really max worthy? I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah, so I guess we're gonna find that question out. But, you know, interesting question. I don't think he's as obviously max worthy as LaMelo and Tyrese Halliburton, who, you know, got their extensions this offseason.
They definitely deserved it. I kind of equate Desmond Bain almost to like a ceiling of Klay Thompson. I feel like he has a very similar role in there. It's different because they play more team basketball, I would say, in Memphis. But I would say Desmond Bain kind of plays that Klay Thompson role. And giving him the max, I think it's fair. I think it's a little bit much considering he's still young and only had like 1-2 good years in the league.
Yeah.
Kind of unproven, but I mean, this year you'll really see because like Ja won't be there in the beginning. You don't really see if he deserves it, and it could end up being a bad mistake. It could end up being something great. So we'll see with that. And then DeJounte Murray also getting the bag. Congrats to him.
I would say Atlanta, you know, kind of doubling down on that Trae Young, DeJounte Murray backcourt, which I don't mind. I like that backcourt. You know,
I like the idea of it.
The idea of it, like on paper, I feel like those two complement each other really well. We haven't seen it on the court so far, really, but they, you know, left. John Collins is gone now. You know, the roster. You know, hopefully that will open. Well, I guess not. Hopefully for the sake of the rest of the teams, but hopefully for them, you know, that opens up the floor a little bit, gives them a bit more space to operate offensively. DeJounte Murray in particular, since he's a worse shooter.
Yeah. The biggest thing, too, is having a full year with the coach now, with Quinn Snyder. That'll definitely help. So they kind of transition through coaches midway through the year. And, I mean, they were starting to turn it up at the end of the year. They took a couple games on Boston. I mean, Boston ended up to be frauds, but, I mean, you know what I mean. That coach could end up doing something with that team. I could see it.
Yeah, no, Quinn Snyder, former Mizzou coach as well. I hate to be, you know,
really?
a homer about all.
Did he go there, or was he just a coach?
No, he coached. So he was an assistant at Duke, I believe, under Mike Krzyzewski. When Mike Krzyzewski went to Mizzou, or like coached at Mizzou, and then he ended up getting fired. There was like a recruiting scandal, so he got fired, didn't coach for a while. I forgot if he coached internationally at all, but like worked his way back up through the G League and then to the Jazz, and that's how he's
gotten. The
fact
that he made it back, that's impressive.
It's like a really crazy, like it's a crazy story. The fact that he went from there.
You can't claim him from
I'm claiming him. I'm taking him.
Fair. You know what? Fair. I'll give it to you.
But yes, interesting re-signings nonetheless. In Atlanta, you know, we'll see how them and the rest of those, you know, young players on their extensions end up doing.
Oh yeah.
All right.
And then kind of the final part of the offseason was we had a few young trades around the league. I mean, your boy, you want to talk about it? Obi Toppin leaving.
You know, this is just Obi. You did great. You know, it's not your fault. This is directly. I know you're watching this, so this is just directly to you. We know it's not your fault.
Why wouldn't he be watching?
I know he's going to be the first view. Obi, no one blames you. We know it's not your fault. And I think he understands it's not his fault either. And I think that's why, like, this trade, I'm ultimately, it's a bummer to lose OB. Like, yes, people are like, 8th overall pick, like, trading him for the, like, blah, 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 like, you ruined him. But
Yeah.
we drafted OB. OB just happened to get drafted the same year that Julius Randle made the jump to being an all-star.
So you take it.
And they play the same position. It's like, what do we do? It's like
nothing you can do about it.
If we lose out on Obi Toppin, if we lose out on an 8th overall pick, we've lost out on plenty lottery picks before. Losing out on an 8th overall pick because we have an all-star pick or because we have an all-star caliber player at his position is not the worst thing in the world. And Obi made sense at the draft. He was the best player available there. He made sense. He fit. We didn't know what was going to happen with Randall. That's what happens in the draft. You take those chances. To send him to Indianapolis, I feel like he's going to do a good job for the Pacers. I don't know if he starts necessarily, but I feel like he can push. I feel like he can push for a starting spot, and if not, he's going to be one of the first guys off of the bench. And I think they will play to his. He's going to fit with that team a lot more. They are a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Not that the Knicks don't play fast-paced, but the offense wasn't as downhill. I feel like necessarily. It slowed down and it slowed down once it got to certain players. Obi's going to have an opportunity to take full advantage of his athleticism and exactly with Halliburton. We were talking about obviously as his point guard. They have Buddy Hield still. They have Benedict Mathurin on the wing. They have Miles Turner still. That Pacers team could be pretty good next year. They're a young, very talented team. Obviously, they traded for Obi Toppin, but shedded another one of their young players. I feel like they were drafted in the same year, and Chris Duarte.
I think so.
Yeah, I feel like they were.
Within a year or two, I think, if not. Yeah, both, you said they're both Dominican too?
Yes, both of Dominican descent. So I'm not saying anything, but we might.
They better be getting minutes here.
Come on.
On the new teams.
This can't be a trend that we're seeing. I need Al Horford to be on the court for the Celtics next year as well.
Exactly. He needs to be getting those minutes.
Yes.
And then obviously Kenyon Martin Jr. for the Clippers. Kind of an under the radar one again.
Yeah.
Nobody really heard much of him with the Rockets, but he could carve out a role with the Clippers. So.
Yes, I feel like that could be a solid trade for the Clippers. You're just looking at generally where they're at. They just need young guys to be able to step in and supplement, PG and Kawhi. I think where they're at right now, they're like in an in-between, like
a weird timeline.
If they're not healthy, then they're going to be rebuilding. But if they are healthy, immediately they're contenders. So they're putting themselves in a position where they're giving themselves young players that they're going to be able to develop and commit to. And, it's, just keeping one foot now, but one foot in the future as well. So I feel like it's a smart trade for them. Long term, obviously, we'll see what that ends up meaning.
Off-topic note, it's kind of interesting to think when AD and LeBron paired up versus when Paul George and Kawhi paired up. If you asked at the time who's gonna do better between those two duos, you would almost think Clippers. I mean, obviously LeBron has this legacy, all this. But
the Clippers,
better players.
The Clippers, right after Toronto won that championship, I'd say the Clippers. I'd say the Clippers.
I feel like you have to.
Yeah.
But then the Lakers, they've won a championship. They've been to the conference semifinals. Yeah. And I mean that's pretty much enough right there. Like that's way better than the Clippers have done.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting
side note.
I feel like the Clippers, the whole, when that team got put together, it was the whole what if scenario. What if they could
still haven't come to fruition.
Exactly. Every season we're talking about the same.
It's getting harder and harder.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens this year with them. But still they have some young talent on that team. They've been drafting decently. Obviously, we talked about Kobe Brown last time around. So I think they're in a weird in-between place, but I like what their front office is doing. I do like, with the guys that they're bringing in.
Oh yeah.
And I guess, speaking of front offices, we aren't GMs, but, I guess we do have favorite and least favorite moves of the offseason. So I will let you
Oh yeah.
start with yours. Let me, they're on the screen
Go ahead.
already, but, explain yours out
Yeah.
to me. Who is on the screen? Who's your people?
My guy, I got Eric Gordon here. Favorite signing. I mean, this guy, he had a lot of offers from a lot of different teams, and he ended up choosing the Suns, which I kind of think proves a lot. I think he wants to contend at this day and age in his age, or this time in his career, basically. And the best place to do that, he kind of realizes the Suns, and he kind of it'll probably end up being the sixth man off the bench or the fifth starter, and it'll carve out a great role with them. I think. I mean, he's only proven to be a great sharpshooter throughout his career. He's kind of that perfect fit that this team needs. More of those sharpshooter veterans that can kind of provide stability when the team is like hitting a rough patch, struggling to score points in the playoffs, whatever it is. I think he fills that void perfectly, and that's why I have him as my favorite signing. Do you want to talk about yours?
Yeah,
I
so
like
for
yours
me,
a lot too.
I feel like similar reasoning behind my signing and yours with Gabe Vincent going to the Lakers on a 3-year, $33 million deal. I think it's obviously different, situations with the team. Phoenix obviously trying to scrape together a roster with a lot of minimum salary guys and as little money as they can spend. Vincent able to get a little bit more money. Another guy coming out of that Miami team, Max Strus and Gabe Vincent, good on them. They capitalized on their on their postseason performance and made some big money in the offseason.
They deserve it.
Yes, which they deserve. I feel like Vincent, I don't know if he starts for them. Maybe he does. Maybe he does.
D'Lo, between him and D'Lo, I could see that going back and forth, kind of.
I could see that.
I don't really know.
I don't know. It depends on if they want Austin Reeves to be a consistent starter as well or a sixth man. It's how they line
the fit too.
It's really how they line up and what they decide the best fit is. But there's definitely a world where Gabe Vincent is a starter or a sixth man for that team. LA's quietly putting together. We had photos up of Hachimura and Austin Reeves earlier. They're quietly putting together a solid squad, with some decent depth, and definitely in a position to, like we were saying, just move forward. Kind of regardless of the status of AD and LeBron, they have some good players on that team. And Gabe Vincent, all the things we said about Max Strus, that 3-point shooting, the defensive ability, the hustle. I think LeBron is definitely looking for guys that have buy-in. And if there's one thing you can say about every player who played for Miami, they are willing to go 100% and put in that effort and, really play to win. And that's what LeBron needs. That's what the Lakers need. So love that signing for them. I think he's going to do great.
All those signings, they've built a great team around LeBron and AD now. It's definitely better than last year's, I would say. And the free agency's not over. I've heard rumors about Christian Wood. That would be an insane signing at this point.
Pelinka putting in work.
He's been in the lab.
Yeah.
Let's get into these least favorite signings. Do you want to go over yours first?
Yeah, so mine, obviously, you see Luka's up there, but he's not my least favorite signing. It's actually the sign-in trade for his new teammate, Grant Williams, from the Celtics. Now, this deal, I feel like, generally was reviewed as, a positive one. And it's not that I think, Grant Williams is not a terrible player. I'm not saying he sucks. And 4 years, I think it was $54 million he's making. So that's around 13 mil a year-ish, if I know how to do math. 13 and a half a year. That's not a crazy amount of money, but at the same time, for Dallas, they did that through, doing that through sign and trade. They, obviously swapped Reggie Bullock's contract in for that, so they were able to take on that additional salary, but they had to give up an unprotected first-round pick in, I think, 2030 to make that happen. They also gave up 3 second-round picks to Boston and picked up 2 second-round picks back, so it's a net loss of 1 second-round pick through that. But still, to give up an unprotected first and then a second-round pick to pick up Grant Williams, and not that Grant Williams is bad, but like you're saying, That's a lot to give up for a player who, like, how much more of an impact is he going to have than Reggie Bullock? Granted, Reggie Bullock
He's a
on the,
young Reggie Bullock, essentially.
Reggie Bullock on the decline, getting older, but like you're saying, they're just kind of making a swap there. And that's not to say that Grant Williams does not have a very good year. Maybe he has a career year in Dallas.
Oh, definitely.
But I don't know if that move is moving. That's not pushing the needle enough to be worth that unprotected first. Dallas is going to be in a position. Kyrie's contract was 3 years. Was it 2 and a player option or just 3?
I think 2 and an option. I don't remember.
If it's 2 and an option, if they don't, like, they have this season. They have this season really to like.
That's it.
At least win one playoff series. If they don't win a chip within the next 2 years, Kyrie's gonna leave and Luka's gonna be gone too.
He's frustrated.
I feel like
he was getting frustrated this year.
Exactly. That's why it's like Luka's. They're gonna lose a lot, and Grant Williams, and they're not gonna be in a position to pivot with all those first round picks gone. So I feel like I feel like the value of the first round pick is decreasing, and it's gonna start kicking teams in the butt. Once we start getting a few years down the line, once all these OKC picks start to convey, I feel like a lot of teams are gonna be missing them.
35 in the next 7 years.
Insane.
God. That's insane. Anyways, I'll get into mine now.
Yeah.
Least favorite signing. This is a pretty obvious one, not too bold here, but Jeremy Grant. You probably noticed we didn't talk about him before.
Yes.
He got paid. He got paid really well. And the reason we didn't really talk about this, I mean, this could have been a better signing if the dominoes fell a different way and Damian Lillard didn't request a trade later on. But, I mean, this is after the fact, and we're looking back at it now, so it's obviously not a great signing. I think they're giving him $40 a year for 4 or 5 years. What is it?
I think it's a 4-year deal.
4-year deal for they're paying him a lot I mean, not even they won't be a contending team. So it's just an interesting move. Did they think they were going to get Damian Lillard, like retain him, or I guess they just didn't think Damian was going to request a trade this soon.
Yeah.
I just don't really know what the situation is.
I mean, I feel like that just goes right into the Dame trade, and his request, and I think the biggest development obviously since we last talked, Damian Lillard, it's been like 3 years in the making, I feel like, but finally requested a trade away from Portland with the Miami Heat being his preferred destination. I think the most interesting thing with Portland's demands are that they're saying they want a star level, at least immediately afterwards, they're saying they want a star level return, which is significantly limiting the trade part. They want a star level return, but they don't want Tyler Hero. So
honestly, I would take Tyler Hero if I was them. Like him and some picks.
I understand why. I feel like that it crowds their backcourt. Like, I get it. They have Anthony Simons. You have Scoot, who you just picked.
Shaedon Sharpe.
You have Shaedon Sharpe. You have, I guess Matisse Thybulle isn't that, but like you have a backcourt and wing guys. I feel like you probably feel like Hero's redundant, especially on the contract that he's on. So I could understand wanting to reroute him, but at the same time, Portland's gotta, maybe they can pivot. Maybe we are underestimating them, and they're gonna get exactly what they want for Dame, and it's gonna end up working out for them, but. I don't know. It's just it's a weird spot that they're in. I'm not really sure where they go. Obviously we got the jerseys up here of Miami, the Sixers, and the Lakers. What are your thoughts on the Dame stuff so far, and where do you see him going maybe?
I mean, I've been saying this since the beginning. I'm still riding with it. I think Miami is the best destination for him. I mean, obviously I saw something today where the Portland GM is willing to wait to make this trade work, and I honestly see this taking a while. I mean, they have at least 3 months of offseason here, so no rush to do it. They obviously want to get the best return. But I also heard rumors about, I think it's Damian Lillard's agent calling teams and saying he wouldn't play for them if he doesn't end up in Miami. So it's just a very interesting situation to see, like, what's going to go down. I mean, it's hard to say right now, but I realistically, I think in some way he'll end up in Miami. It'll be a 3-way, 4-way trade. I think Tyler Hero will get shipped out. Kyle Lowry will get shipped out. All their picks, and I think that's. I mean, I think they get him, but I think they're at that point they're so like they lost so much of their
Yeah.
team. It's gonna hurt.
And
But I
they've
mean, you
already
do have the best 3 in the East, I would say.
they've already lost Max Strus and Gabe Vincent as well. Like it's it's just going to be stripping a lot away from that team.
Oladipo.
Exactly like you're saying. It's
And then that's not even counting the people they trade away
exactly.
for Dame.
So it's a rough.
You think Caleb Martin would be in that? Who's
probably
like their last quality piece?
I mean, financially, they would probably need to include him just to offset Dame's salary. Like I'm sure they would need another decent size, unless Hero's getting included and then they reroute him someplace.
Lowry too.
Yeah, I would say they've discussed. There's been some stuff I've seen that there are teams who would be willing to take on Hero's contract and facilitate a 3-team trade. But I think again, if a 3-team trade is being facilitated through Portland, what's the incentive for them if they're saying they want, starting caliber players? So I don't know. It's a interesting thing. Another kind of sleeper team. I don't know if we talked about this last episode. I know we definitely talked about it outside of it, but the Spurs. Yeah. I feel like the Spurs still sneakily, when the request was first made, Dame, there was a report coming out said that he had respect for Popovich and for that front office.
Yeah.
Popovich just signed an extension, making him the highest paid head coach in the NBA. Granted, he's like a president of basketball operations. His role is larger, but still the highest paid coaching contract in NBA history now, higher than Monty Williams. And the Spurs, they may not have any, definitive all-stars right now, but think about like a Keldon Johnson. I'm trying to think. They have more lottery picks that I don't know their names, but they have lottery picks on that team. I feel like there's definitely talent and picks that the Spurs have that a lot of these other teams don't have. I want to check the Spurs roster just to see like who are some of the other, because I know they have other.
A trade would be a lot easier to facilitate with the Spurs.
Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Trey Jones. Yeah. I think he just re-signed his contract. Zach Collins, Sochan. They have. There's more there with San Antonio, and I think. If you're San Antonio, I'd probably, I don't feel great about it, but I would probably feel fine giving up. I don't know if I would give up Keldon Johnson. I would give up Keldon Johnson. Trey Jones.
If you're getting Dame,
I would give up Keldon Johnson, Doug McDermott, Trey Jones, and like 3 first-round picks.
That you'd think would be more than enough.
Like I feel like something like that. Like that structure of a deal, granted, it depends on how San Antonio, I feel like it's more of an issue on San Antonio's side. Like, do they just want to throw all of that out there just for the sake of doing it? But you can immediately put yourself in contention in the West, still have a good amount of picks, have Wembanyama as well, along like you'd have a top center, a top point guard, and still have Devin Vassell and some good young wings in between them. That could definitely be a really interesting, just something to continue to think about.
And you'd think that team would be better than Portland, but I mean, then again, they'd probably still both be close to the bottom near the end of the year. But you never know. I mean, that's the fun in basketball.
Yes, by the next time we talk, we'll.
Hopefully there's more clarity.
Yes, hopefully have a day.
Probably not, though.
Yes, most likely it'll be the exact same as it is right now.
Realistically.
I guess that was a decent length free agency recap. So we still got more to talk about, though. We got the Summer League.
Stay tuned.
Summer League jumped in
right after. Lots been going down.
Yeah, I would say we don't. I can't lie. I haven't watched the Summer League as avidly. I've read about the Summer League. I've seen some things. I saw Wembanyama get yammed on by, was it Kai Jones?
Jones, yeah.
I saw Kai Jones absolutely obliterate him in Game 1 against Charlotte.
Yeah.
But other than that, I
bad.
mean, I don't know. It seems like you've watched more. So I'll defer to you. What's your summer league
I
thoughts?
wouldn't say I wouldn't say I watched too much, but I did watch the Victor Wembanyama games, and I mean, that first game was a little disappointing, but I think a lot of people jumped the gun and said, "Oh, he's awful. Oh, he sucks." But he showed a lot of positive flashes with his defense, with what he can do,
Yeah.
like playmaking wise. Like he's gonna be a scary. He's essentially a guard in a center's body, and I think that's the scariest thing about him. Um, but yeah, in the second game, he kind of carried the team. He dropped like 29 points. He had a clutch three near the end of the game to bring the team within one. I mean, this guy could, if he doesn't get hurt and he could stay healthy through the season, he should easily be rookie of the year.
Mhm.
He could almost be an all-star, like considering he's the best player on that team, and you never really know what to expect there. But no, I think he really showed some flashes. I think people weren't really looking for much. Like it's hard to kind of you weren't going to get much from the summer
Yeah.
league from him. You're just going to get an idea of a little flash of what he's like, a little
Mhm.
taste of it. But it was interesting. It showed like nothing like anything we've seen before in the NBA. But I'm excited to see him really suit up in the fall.
Yeah, no, he definitely had his coming to the NBA moment with that posterized dunk. But other than that, definitely I think the first game, that's first summer league game, jitters. He had the Britney Spears stuff kind of on his back,
That's probably in his head.
on his back a little bit. He just had to, just kind of brush that off, really get that
Oh
away
yeah,
from him. But once it was done, I feel like he picked up that second game. He really, came into his own more. His stat line was significantly better, and that was more of the Wembanyama that we're used to seeing, or that you'd expect to see in the summer league.
exactly.
The other guy, I know you're talking about rookie of the year, and we were going over some of those odds earlier. Maybe a
Oh
little
yeah.
sneaky rookie of the year favorite. And he's not a favorite odds wise, but maybe a sleeper pick for that. Chet. He's coming this summer league. Kind of a slow
Sure.
comeback. He's working his way back from that Liz Frank injury that kept him out all the last year. And he's looking all right.
Scary sleeper pick.
He's looking solid. Again, he didn't play at all last year, so the Blake Griffin and many others rule is in effect. He's going to be able to
Yeah.
play, or he'll be eligible for Rookie of the Year. And I feel like Chet on that OKC team, I personally was not a Chet believer. Like I no hate against him. I feel like he's talented, but I felt like Chet was going to get hurt. I did not think he was going to make it through an NBA season. He didn't even make it to the NBA season, and he got hurt for the whole season. So I was proven right by
Kind of
that.
funny.
Yeah, I was like proven very right by that. However, I do think heading into this year, I think he has a real shot. Like he's had that offseason to bulk up, to grow. He's been in an NBA strength and conditioning program with NBA coaches, working on his game. And in summer league, some of that has started to show already. And I think, headed into next year, if he can, we're talking about Wembanyama being all these things. Chet is, if you believe in Wembanyama,
Very similar build.
if you believe in Wembanyama being everything that you say he's going to be, Chet's got to be pretty good too then. Chet's got to be like pretty up there as well. So going
Right
into this
behind him.
season,
No.
I definitely think if the durability can stay consistent, Chet is going to have a real, it would be a breakout season, I guess, if it wasn't going to be like his first time actually playing. But I think he's going to really impress people this year.
And speaking of durability, I mean, there are a couple of injuries in the summer league that we saw. Pretty normal, I think, but nothing too serious. But we had both people in these photos here: Amin Thompson, Scoot Henderson, ankle sprain, shoulder injuries. I think Amin Thompson's out for all of summer league. I think Scoots was more of a minor injury, but he didn't end up playing in that game against Victor Wembanyama the other day, and kind of a significant injury. I mean, you'll see. I mean, significant part of the body for an injury. You don't want that to become serious. So, I mean, obviously they'll monitor it. By the fall, they should be fine, I'd assume. But yeah, it happens. And then obviously Wembanyama shut down for the rest of the summer league. Nothing injury related, but just safety
because.
cautions. Like, why you don't want this to turn into a Zion situation first and foremost. But yeah, might as well keep him while you have him healthy. So
Yes. I'm going to. All right. So I guess next and final topic for us isn't the summer league. It's a new league it's not a league, but like a
It's
new
weird.
addition to
Let's
the
say that.
NBA. I guess I need to turn on the lights in here because the sun is going down. But I'm gonna put these pictures up and go.
I
What are
can
we?
start
What is
talking.
this? What is this? What are we doing?
The NBA in-season tournament. It's kind of a weird idea in my opinion. It's essentially regular season games that are turned into this almost World Cup-esque bracket in the middle of the season where games could become irrelevant if like you're not playing for anything. They're only playing for money in the NBA Cup. Just a weird idea in my opinion overall. Doesn't really incentivize the players enough to be playing for something like the trophy or just some
Yeah.
money. But we were talking about this earlier, but it could give players, younger players, two-way players, the opportunity to kind of shine.
Hmm.
And I think it's hopefully the long-term goal of this. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
It'll be weird.
It's definitely, Adam Silver, doing things to make his mark on the league, which you can't hate on him for. I think the play-in tournament was another one of those things, and that's ended up being like one of the most exciting additions to basketball in the last few years. So, you
Super
know,
successful.
so I'm not gonna doubt him or the NBA in terms of their plan or their ability to, give us entertaining basketball. But this, the cup idea or that concept, it's something that they're trying to bring over from European soccer. Having in-season tournaments that aren't tied directly to league play, but have some type of trophy still related to them. I feel like it doesn't really work with the NBA in the same way because it's not like we have promotion, relegation. It's not like G League teams are going to be playing in this. It's kind of a weird, like, I get it, but exactly like you mentioned and like we were talking about before, I feel like it needs to involve, how much this works really is dependent on how the teams approach this. For the top end teams, is this going to be something where, in the month of November when those games come up on their calendar, are they going to, load manage their players? Are they not going to play their top players?
I could see that.
Are young teams, so like, is this going to be something where, those younger, lower teams, are they able to be more successful in these tournaments? Are we going to see maybe those top teams just, maybe start different lineups, try experimental things, start young players, is that going to be, are those games going to become a forum for, just more general experimenting for coaches and lineups and exposure for players during the regular season? That is like, if the answer to that is yes, then I feel like there is an avenue to this being really cool. And they just
Oh yeah.
expanded with the new CBA. There are three two-way contracts now instead of just two. So an additional guy added there. I feel like there's just more and more. They're more just giving opportunities to more players to make it onto the court and make an impact in the league. That's awesome. We'll take that. But I don't know if a play-in tournament or if this is the best means of doing that. I feel like or an in-season tournament. Sorry, I feel like something like this would be almost cooler for the G League. Like if they did this for the G
Yeah.
League, that would put more attention on those players. Those players would get the prize money. They could use it more. Like that is something that I feel like we could be cool.
It makes more sense there than in the NBA.
Definitely.
Like they have more to play for than NBA players at the highest level already.
Exactly. And I was
So
also was kind of toying with the idea. I know we mentioned this earlier as well, but in terms of like maybe an alternative structure, I feel like, because I don't mind the idea of having regular season games or like having something that's occurring during the season like count to something else. But instead of doing like the group stage and then like, maybe they, obviously have like, I don't mind like bring it to Vegas, have it be a separate thing where it finishes. But maybe have them start off, just for a certain part of the regular season, every weekend or, like the first game of the regular season, set, certain matchups to be, tournament matchups. So everyone's first game of the season, that's a tournament game, single elimination. And, I feel like we could do a big bracket, seed it by previous year rankings.
oh yeah,
And, just do a big bracket. Let's go down and
that would be fun.
let's single eliminate through. And then that can give us, a regular season, I guess not a regular season champion, I guess, but that can give us an in-season tournament champion. And then, once that bracket gets down to a Final Four, then send them to Vegas, let them play it out. That can be a whole thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like, having it wait until November, just like you were saying, it feels a little disjointed. It is a little bit weird timing and everything. I'll have faith in Adam Silver, though. I'll trust him. I'll believe in him.
We trust him here at A&J.
We believe in Adam.
He's been great.
In Adam, we trust. We believe, but I don't know. I'm feeling a little bit shaky about the NBA Cup right now. Also, the name. The NBA Cup.
The name's just weird. Come on. Anybody could have thought of that.
We should have come up with it now. Next episode, we will come back with a better. Next sports episode, we will have a better NBA Cup name because it could be named after a former player or
so many things.
I don't know, just something. There's something that this should be named after other than the NBA Cup. So
that's as basic as it gets. Sounds like something NBA 2K generated off.
Yeah, I would say it is like a 2K generated. They couldn't get the licensing to whatever it's actually called, so they just called it the NBA Cup instead.
Exactly. Instead of the finals.
Yes.
NBA Cup. Close enough.
So I guess let us know in the comments. What would you name the NBA Cup other than?
It's got to be a better name.
Yes, I would say let us know what you would name the NBA Cup. Do you like it? Do you think it's a cool idea? How are you feeling about free agency, about the trades, Dame, about the signings that have been happening? Just give us your thoughts. And you got anything else?
That's it. Thanks for tuning in. It's a long episode. If you're a real NBA fan, you'll enjoy it. But thank you.
Yeah.